Hello, awakened souls, star seeds, mystics, lightworkers. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast. I'm your host, Chrys Kyng. I'm a shamanic healer, ascended astrologer, psychic medium, and ascension guide. I'm also a business mentor as I help lightworkers, star seeds, and healers like yourself tap out of the matrix and activate your soul mission so we can create this new earth. And this podcast is all about dismantling the false matrix, talking about ways that we can ascend the matrix, ascend together as a collaborative, co-creative, unified organism as human beings as we're moving into now. And this is all about preparing for the next age and the next frequency of cosmic order and plasmic light on this planet as we are transitioning from carbon-based matter to crystalline or plasmic light. I am visited nightly by plasma light beings, and one of them is my future self. This is something that I have newly come into the realization around, that is coming and visiting me and activating me and also giving me messages. I've been working with a guide called Aurelius, which means the golden one, and which I knew was my higher self and future self, or some aspect of myself in a higher realm. But this being is actually flying around the sky above me, and this is happening to thousands of you all out there, and many of you all are seeing these plasma light beings in the sky. They're not UFOs, but as these beings are coming forth and as the frequency is raising and as I'm stepping more into new levels of embodiment and authenticity and true aspects of my soul mission here, I have many different topics that I want to bring to this conversation, and one of them is the year 2027. Now, many of you all out there have been hearing about 2027 for years. You were hearing about it even before the great conjunction of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in 2020. Astrologers have been talking about 2027 as well for a long time. So today, I just want to have a conversation with you all. It was really important that I get on here and not wait for a guest. I needed to just get on here and give you this channeled message because there's a lot of information coming in about this, and I want to give some clarity to you all as there are some myths around 2027 that I want to dismantle, or some clarity I want to give to the conversation, and I want to tap into that new timeline and that new frequency that we're moving into, and also give some of you light workers and mystics and healers and starseeds some peace of mind about where you currently are right now, because as much as we're moving toward this magical new earth, and this true earth as we like to call it, or this 5D reality that we're all creating together and stepping into and remembering, because remember, this planet was already a fifth dimensional template way before the lizard-like takeover. I have to be very careful what I say on these podcasts, and because of censorship, but just there have been some energies from outside of our solar system that have come into this solar system, into this realm, and created a false matrix, brought the moon here. And so a lot of these systems that have been in place for 13,000 years and even before that are starting to dismantle, and we are the medicine. We are the frequency that's dismantling that, is us remembering who we are, even back to the times of Atlantis and Lemuria and beyond, to our starseed lineages, back to even our future selves and our primordial selves in the light realms. This is a grand time of remembrance and reclamation on this planet. This planet does not belong to us. Spirit wants you all to know that. This planet does not belong to us. It belongs to all beings of light and love who want to co-create and create a home here on planet Earth and any other planet in this solar system. This is about opening up our energies to new beings coming and working with us openly, with open contact. So we're opening this conversation to all of that. But as we tune into the frequency of 2027, I see golden light. That's all that I see, and lots of yellow in my mind's eye right now. But there's a lot of golden solar codes that are going to come in 2027 as we're making our way toward that bandwidth and that new frequency shift. And it's already happening. Some of you light workers and mystics out there are already feeling this frequency. You're already feeling the call. You're already experiencing the great solar flash, as they call it. So let's dive into it. So to give you some context, for thousands and thousands of years, back to the time of the Maya, the end of the third dimension was prophesized, and it was brought into a really unified prophecy and calendar called the Mayan calendar. And so when we look at the years 2011 and 2012, I want you to sit back and think, what was happening for me at that time, what awakenings happened for me, one of my most intense dark nights of the soul and awakenings and karmic soul contracts happened in the year of 2012, which really awakened me to my shadow and what needed to be healed in this lifetime. And I was given a mirror around that, but it can show up for anyone in many ways. It was probably my first taste of what Kundalini awakening was going to be like. I was experiencing extreme levels of depression and anxiety and activations, and I lost 30 pounds in a karmic relationship. There was something that I was having to remember about myself. It was my first taste of what it was like actually understanding what being an empath is and the spiritual implications of that, and how sometimes it's not so cool to be psychic and an empath and a light worker. It's hard work. It's actually dense work that we're doing. It's density work we're doing as much as we're doing light work. But I want you to think back to 2012, which was technically the end of the third dimension and the beginning, the sort of initiation point to this fifth dimension that everyone keeps talking about, which is already here. The fifth dimension never went anywhere. The third dimension is an overlay. It's a distorted, false overlay over top of the true organic 5D ascended earth that already exists and already was. Or existed and already was. So I want you all to also come back in time a little bit to 2020. And I know that's going to trigger some people. You're saying, I don't want to go back to 2020. Who wants to go back to 2020? Well, I want you to understand how powerful that year was astrologically, but also for the ascended folks out there. This was a year where something really, it got serious then, not only in the collective with what was going on the world stage, with movements happening and with viruses and all that kind of stuff and 5G being implemented. What was really interesting is that timelines began to split off in 2020. There were different timelines, and I don't want this conversation to sound like you and I are the born-again Christians, and we're the ones in the know, and we're going to go up in the rapture in 2027. That is not going to happen, and that's not what is happening. Everyone has a chance with their free will and their soul evolution and their soul mission that they've come here with to choose which timeline. And honestly, the third dimensional timeline that will continue on, even though many of us will continue into this fifth dimensional realm, and they will coexist together, unbeknownst to each other, actually. There's nothing wrong with 3D. There's nothing wrong with the false matrix. Are there horrible things happening from my perspective, in my opinion, in this third dimensional reality and from the global elite Illuminati perspective? Yes, there is a lot of that going on. There are a lot of things that I don't personally want to include in my reality, and I don't prefer, but let's just say it all belongs, it all exists. It's not that it should be happening, it's that it's not wrong. So we want to come at this conversation with a place of non-judgment, because you're not going to make it into unity consciousness and a fifth dimensional frequency state by truly holding judgment in your frequency, which splits you into a duality. So let's try to come at this from a higher perspective and a non-dual perspective as much as possible. But we do have preferences, and we also know where things are headed. And where we're headed is more unity, where we're climbing back to source, back to singularity, as many scientists and mystics would call it. So 2020 was this bifurcation, this splitting off of the earths, where there's this 3D false matrix and this 5D earth, where it's no longer an overlay. They're turning into two separate organisms, like a cell splitting off into two parts. And there are many different versions of that 5D Earth. There are many different 5D timelines that we're creating, not just one. So I want us to remember the multidimensional, complex nature of this conversation. And then as we're making our way toward 2027, which is that big year that everyone keeps talking about, that magical year, people in the collective many people having a great time right now who are stuck in the matrix. They are feeling greater levels of abundance. Some people are just awakening, but a lot of the light workers and starseeds and mystics out there, awakened souls who have experienced awakenings their entire lives since 2012, even before 2020, are not feeling so great right now. They feel like they're in a liminal phase, and I want to give you some clarity around that, because there is a reason that that's happening. Now, in 2027, There will be many different shifts in human consciousness and to the timeline structures that are coming in, and the level of plasmic light that will be available to us through our bodies and in the matrix around us. Even though it's an illusion, the matrix around us will start to transition from this carbon-based material into this crystalline light grid, this plasma, which is this fourth state of matter. And in 2027, the astrology will be very interesting. It's not going to be as pack quite a bit of a punch or an explosion as 2020 did, with the grand conjunction of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and everything that was happening with Mars. I mean, there was so much dismantling that needed to happen in 2020 as these timelines bifurcated and these planetary grids split off from each other. But in 2027, we will experience Uranus making a beautiful trine, which is a 120-degree angle to Pluto. So you have the planet of awakenings and Kundalini energy in the future and future timelines, and shock and surprise, something very sudden happening to us, making a beautiful harmonic angle to Pluto, which is the planet of soul evolution and contracts and the regeneration of who we are. When we look at Pluto from an ascended astrology perspective, which is the astrology that I work with, not the tropical or mundane astrology or traditional astrology of the past. When we look at Uranus and Pluto from an ascended perspective, you've got this freedom energy and this co-creative communal energy that's coming in that's very powerful and empowerment. It's this unified organism that we're stepping into together. And then Uranus will not only be making a trine to Pluto, which is that soul regeneration, not just that sexual regeneration and that regeneration that happens here in the physical realms, but on a soul cosmic level, that regeneration and that new path that comes in. You've got Uranus making a beautiful sextile, which is a 60-degree angle to Neptune. So Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto are those outer planets that we all talk about that are so powerful, but the three of them are so spiritual. Chiron, which lives between Saturn and Uranus, is the beginning of those transdimensional spiritual planets that live out there, and there are more of them out there than just Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And in ascended astrology, we take them into account as well, the sort of trans-Neptunian objects and the objects that are living out there in the Kuiper belt and like Eris and the membrane that lives outside in the solar system, which we call the Oort cloud. There's all kinds of entities out there that we've yet to really discover and understand how they work within our chart, and a lot of them are going to be activated in 2027 as well. So what I feel in 2027 is that these three spiritual transdimensional planets are going to have harmonic angles to each other, which are going to create an opening gateway, is how Spirit is showing it to me right now. Almost look at it like a portal, a stargate that opens, and I'm using that metaphorically. I'm not saying that the Arcturians are going to come and open a stargate portal and we're all going to float up into it. I really want to ground this conversation and be somewhat realistic, whatever that means to you around this. There's enough people on the top of Mount Shasta praying for the Arcturians to come and beam them up. Let's speak to what will actually be happening from a spiritual perspective. And what's really beautiful is there's a lot of codes that are coming in, a lot of starseed remembrance will be coming in because of this cosmic alignment as well. I also feel, and what my guide Aurelius is wanting to share, is that there will be a dismantling of the lunar matrix and the control mechanism from the global elite and from the 5G towers. There will be this shift in our bodies where we won't even be affected by a lot of this programming and mind control and the frequencies that are coming in that are trying to keep us in these denser states. This is also when astrological modalities like ascended astrology, which is based a lot in true sidereal astrology, will start to take effect as well. The children that are born in 2027 and beyond will begin to vibrate and resonate more with their ascended matrix chart in ascended astrology, which is also the true sidereal placements, which are based on the actual organic photonic light coming from the constellations, not this time-based agreed upon construct, which we call the tropical zodiac. Yeah, I said it. Let it trigger you, okay? So as we continue to move on in 2027, not only is the astrology really strong, but when we even look at the human design world, For those of you who are not familiar with human design, go look it up now. It's really interesting. I love human design. I'm way too invested in creating a matrix glitching form of astrology to be an expert in human design, but I have read all the books. I could give an incredible human design reading right now, but it's so complex and so intricate and so juicy too. I love human design for how spot on it is, but human design as we know it today is still based in tropical astrology. So there's also this cosmic human design that's coming in, which is based on those true sidereal placements. And that will begin to shift in 2027 as well, as people start to resonate more with that cosmic human design. And your cosmic human design, your true sidereal ascended matrix astrology placements will start to take over more as 2027 and beyond takes hold. Now in 2027, in human design, there are these crosses, or there's incarnation crosses, and we are moving from the cross of planning to the cross of the sleeping phoenix. So there's a huge transition in human consciousness that will happen. And this is very similar to what happened in the late 1700s when projectors began being born in the human design template. 1781, I believe. And there was a shift from a 7 chakra system in our body graph or in our bodies, according to human design, to a 9-centered a system where the heart split off into 2, into the G center and into the heart or will or ego center. And then the solar plexus, as we knew it, split off into the solar plexus and the spleen. And there will be another mutation to the solar plexus chakra, it is said. And so the children who are born in 2027 and beyond will have more chakric centers, or energy centers as they're called in human design, than we had previously. And they're called the rave children, which is really interesting. And this whole shift in consciousness, even according to human design, beyond any other spiritual teachings or channeled material out there, is basically based around moving from collective survival, which is so Age of Pisces, which is so the false matrix, it's so 13,000 years ago, and we are moving into individual sovereignty, where we're individual light body activated, and we are ruled not by gurus, not by kings with an I, because kings with a Y are led by spirit and are a new archetype that's coming in as community leaders in the Age of Aquarius space, if you want to look at it that way. But we've got this, I'm led by higher self, I'm led by soul, I'm directed by my soul mission and my star family and the beings of light that work with me and why I've come here. I'm led by that, and I'm not led by anything else but that. And that's already coming in for many of us. We're already getting tastes of that or living that out fully. Many of you are ahead of your time. That's why you feel lost. That's why you feel confused. That's why you feel like you don't fit in anywhere, because even in spiritual communities, they're all operating in 3D spiritual hoopla. Ooh, I shouldn't say that. It's not all hoopla, but a lot of it is just bullshit. It's just ego-driven spirituality. It's crystals and sage instead of rosaries and holy water. It's still religious programming. It's very Age of Pisces, and you all don't resonate with that either. So we are moving into a time where there's more community coming in. There is more gathering and finding your tribe, but even though there may be a community leader, everyone is a leader in the tribe. Everyone has a unique place. There isn't a congregation and a priest, and we're all going to the priest for the information, going to the Bashar or Abraham conference to get the information. We're getting it from within. We're getting it in our meditation, our drumming circles. We're getting it in our vision quests and in our medicine journeys. This is what's really powerful about the work that's happening right now. And many of you all are already doing it, but the collective is not caught up with you. You're not lost. They're lost. They haven't caught up with you. Okay. Now, another thing that will happen in 2027 that everyone's talking about, and I want to give some clarity around this, and I was getting some downloads earlier, which is why I'm talking so fast, because I've got Gemini brain, and I can feel spirit and Aurelius already wanting to speak through me, and so I'm trying to get my human to catch up with that. So bear with me. I appreciate you all sticking with me here and keeping up with how fast all of this information wants to come in. But the great solar flash is something that everyone is talking about in fringe spiritual communities and ascension communities. This is something that will happen and is already happening. That is what Aurelius and my higher self and my guides and spirit wants you all to know, is that this is already happening. All of the solar flares are, I understand, thank you. All of the solar flares that we're experiencing right now, when they're measured by our current technology, are what's happening from the 3D sun. And the download that I got earlier, and what he wants to say through me, is that there is another version of the sun. Every planet, including Earth, has a 5D templated version of itself that already exists. So there are X-class flares happening all the time that our technology is not registering because it's coming from the 5D Earth. And so many of you all who are vibrating in those 4D, 5D threshold realms already, you are feeling activations even when the Schumann resonance isn't spiking, and even when the solar activity seems to be in a lull, or there's not a lot happening. That doesn't mean you're still not getting activated by solar flares that are coming from the fifth dimensional sun, which is waiting for us, if you will, or is already available to us. And that's what we need you to understand as well as we move into 2027, is that there will be major solar flares that happen to activate our DNA. Our DNA is made of crystalline light or plasmic light, and this light plasma from the sun is going to activate us, and it already is. It's already been doing this very strongly since 2020 and 2012. And for many of us, we're already preparing to already just exist in these frequencies, where many people will just have their awakenings in 2027. And many of you all who are listening to this are being prepared to hold space for them. You are the pioneers, the way showers, the bridge builders, if you want to put it that way, who are already being put through the ringer without a lot of support, except for your intuition and some, fringe teachings and some things you're finding on some Reddit chats and some communities here and there on YouTube and school. There are many teachers who aren't even caught up with this yet. There are many spiritual teachers who aren't teaching any of this because it doesn't make them money. And that's okay. We're still in an age of survival, as it was talking about in the human design context. And we're now moving into that individual sovereignty. And a part of this great solar flash is going to activate your light body, your plasmic self. And so you will start to embody more of your plasma light body, your golden light body, as I like to call it. And you will start to tap into that fifth dimensional frequency in a real physical way. It will be much more visceral, especially, give me that again. Many of us will actually begin to see and feel the fifth dimensional frequency around 2028, 2029 is really where we're going to start feeling it. And will there be radio blackouts and electrical grid blackout? There will be some, but what I'm sensing right now in the current timeline that we're in is that there will not be this major blackout all over the planet and we all are scrambling and it's like 2020 part 2, but even worse. That's not going to happen. I'm sensing that the great solar flash, yes, will come in three major data banks or 3 major blocks, okay? There will be these 3 chapters that this great solar flash happens, and we're already experiencing it now, but in 2020, I understand. In 2027 and around 2027, we will be experiencing 3 major influxes of this energy, and a lot of this solar flash is coming from the fifth dimensional sun. So you'll have a lot of what you all might call, jokingly, I hope, NPCs, or people who are asleep, or people who are, just matrix zombies. I've heard it all. And we want to open the space to them as well to receive this after 2027, okay? Not everyone who's asleep right now and seems like an NPC is. You very well could have been an NPC to someone 10 years ago. So let's be very clear. We're opening this to all humans who are ready to take this upgrade. And yes, there will be electrical grid blackouts. There will be things that happen. The lunar matrix is definitely going to be affected by this. It's not like the moon is going to be removed from our orbit, but it will definitely dismantle the control frequencies that are coming from it, and the effects of it astrologically will start to wane as well. Now, what's going to happen when this great solar flash happens is or this experience. When we call it a great solar flash, what they're telling me right now is it seems like it's one thing, and they want us to call it a great solar experience or a great solar event, because it sounds like it's a much longer strung out process or drawn out process, and it is. But what this is going to strings. Okay, this is going to, I'm getting very activated right now by this conversation, and I'm sorry that I'm stumbling over my words a little bit, because it's like a Grand Central Station trying to get all this information out of my mouth. Strings, light, DNA. I'm seeing the DNA. There are new strands of DNA coming online, and there's new strings. Like in string theory, there's more strings of light that are going to be operating. It's like almost the way that television screens looked in the 1980s and how they look now. The pixelation and the resolution is much higher. The clarity of light is going to be increased, and that's going to resonate with those who are activating their DNA and have that full DNA strand activated. And that may not happen in 2027 where our entire strand of DNA is activated, but the DNA blocks that we have, what Spirit's showing me right now is that around strand 2 and 3, there's some type of program that creates a firewall. I'm doing my best, you all. Create some type of block or program to cap it. It's like a cap on the DNA, and that cap is going to burst off. It's going to dissolve off, almost like pouring acid on something or melting. It looks like it's melting off of that, and then the DNA will naturally turn on through its progression, and the Kundalini will begin to rise in many people. We're going to have a mass Kundalini crisis and activation in 2027 and 2028. So healers, get ready for that. You need to open up your calendars by that point. And so what you can already be doing is mastering your own Kundalini, mastering your own process. So this human design, astrology perspective, fringe spiritual communities, all talking about this great solar flash. What's really going to change, especially like when they talk about human design, is that solar plexus, which is the emotional center, will mutate. Our emotional intelligence is going to increase, they're saying. We've been operating in a very mental state, and we in this matrix and in our current society feel that mentality is much more intelligent or more logical and embodied than someone who feels emotions and operates from an emotional frequency. But we're not talking about lunar-based emotional reactivity and subconscious trauma programming. We're talking about true heart field expansion and emotional intelligence that overrides the logical binary code of the mental body that we currently exist in. And when you open up intelligently from the emotional body, it opens the heart field, and the heart is the gateway to 5D, I understand. So we're going to have empaths everywhere, okay? Narcissists, look out, because the empath army is coming our way in 2027. Humans' empathic tendencies are going to be increasing. Spirit is even showing me right now that animals will increase in intelligence as well, because they're responding to us. Wow. We're in this co-creative reality where many of our animals, not just our pets that we keep at home as companions, but animals in the collective will start trusting us more. Their heart field will start opening more. There will be much more co-creation among all beings, not just humans and beings from other star systems and light beings that are coming in. That's really beautiful. So there is a lot. That's why this golden light in 2027 is so strong that I'm seeing. This is a message of hope. This is a lighthouse, a beacon of light for you all, because many of you all are in this liminal phase. And what I mean by that is it's like you walk into a store and they have automatic doors that open, and there's this little space in there before you get to another set of doors, and that's to keep the air cool and to keep insects out. There's many reasons for that liminal space, where it's like an in-between phase and a in-between space that serves no other purpose, like a stairwell in a building. It serves no other purpose but to get you from one point to another. That's where we are right now. Ascended souls, starseeds, light workers, we want you to know It is okay that you feel like you're the one freaking out right now, that you did all of this spiritual work for the past 20 years, for the past 10 years, the past 5 years, all of this healing work, all these retreats, all of these certifications you've gotten, all of this stepping up into your soul mission, all of the sudden to be taken into an even deeper level of density. Now your past life programming is coming up to be healed. Now your ancestral traumas that are living in your body that no longer match this new light is already being healed. And because everyone's not doing it right now, it feels like you're the one who's lost or off track or not on the same page. And I want to give you some clarity around this. This is an in-between phase because you are going to enter 2027 already prepared for the party, already dressed for the occasion, they're saying. So this is a calm before the storm. And I know it's feeling like a storm inside many of you all. And many of you all feel like actually nothing's happening. It feels like there's no progress. It feels like I've reached a plateau. And you have, because you've already reached the set point. You've already reached certain awarenesses mentally and emotionally and gotten to new frequency ranges. And now we just need the outer reality and the external matrix to catch up with you. If you're getting chills on your body right now, if the hair's standing up, or if you feel like I feel him so much right now, you're the one I'm talking to right now. This is a message for many of you all out here, which is why I needed to get on here. And so how can we prepare for this? Many of you all are already doing it, but detoxing the body, detoxing your body of heavy metals. The heavy metals are literally physical representations of false matrix, carbon-based material that is living in your body that is quite literally physically holding you down like cinder blocks and chains on you. Those heavy metals also vibrate very strongly with certain astral entities. And I'm not trying to create fear or instill fear in anyone, but they vibrate very heavily with certain entities that you would call demonic or dark entities, that sort of thing, which are just thought forms and boogeymen that exist in the fourth dimension that won't even have any place or don't even vibrate in the frequency of where we're going, okay? We're bypassing that. As we're moving into 5D, we are going to, as light workers and starseeds, do a lot of shadow work and deal with a lot of the duality that lives in the fourth dimension as well, especially in your dream time. You all are probably noticing crazy dreams and a lot of dark things showing up in your dreams and meditations as well. View it as much as you can with non-judgment. It is supposed to happen that way. And so detoxing your body of parasites. This is another one. Parasites did have a place at one time, but now we have an overabundance of them in our bodies. And these parasites, if you want to look at it metaphorically, they feed off of us. They're not only eating us, eating our serotonin, instructing us to drink the alcohol, smoke the cannabis, smoke the thing, eat the horrible food, watch the media so we get and watch a scary movie or something to get that flood of emotional toxins that come in or that adrenaline rush. They also symbolically represent the parasitic entities that we call archons, which have possessed the eons, and they also, many of the Alpha Draconians are coming to the light, if you will. They are stepping more into this awareness of we don't have to do this anymore. We don't have to be hierarchical. We don't have to cause more density in this realm to exist. We can actually all exist and do our own thing and not bother anyone. Who would have thought? And so you have a small group of these Alpha Draconians and these archontic entities and global elite humans, whether they're mind-controlled or not, who are still trying to control everything, and that will continue to exist with this trans-human agenda. And I have been flagged and censored many times, and I just don't have time for it. So it's really important that we understand that they're allowed to do that. You can do whatever you want. You do not have control over us anymore. And so the parasites in our body and the heavy metals in our body and the toxins in our body are what is also keeping us physically in alignment with a lot of these false matrix programs and mind control frequencies as well. And you want to clear all of that out as best as you can. Ask Spirit, do your research. There's so much out there that will instruct you and educate you on how to clear your body out. Even energetic cleansing, clearing your energy every day, wearing dark stones, just starting to do the things that you've been told to do more often and starting to live that more ascended spiritual life. There's also the reduction of certain music and media, because a lot of our movies and our music have mind control frequencies built into them. Hertz frequencies in some of our music, which are specifically tuned to create distortions and dissonance in our energy signature. It's about, you don't have to completely unplug yourself from the matrix and go live in the woods. We do need you here, lightworkers. We need you here, starseeds. We need you in your body on this planet here. You did choose this for a reason. And so it's about dismantling it from within, not escaping it and avoiding it until the fifth dimension appears. I'm going to stay in my house until that happens with my cat. No, that is not what the soul knows, because the soul is brave and you came here to do something very brave. And 2027 may sound like a euphoric utopia and a magical year where the sunshine and rainbows and unicorns finally come to planet Earth. And that's not the case either. There's going to be a lot of density that's clearing for many years. Oh my goodness, until 2036, we will be clearing. How many years is that? No, of course. So in 2036, we will complete a cycle of 9. They're showing me from 2027. Is that right? 6 plus 3, yes. I'm not a mathematician, I should say. I'm a psychic, not a mathematician. And in 2036 is when the cycle of the 2027 initiation will come to a completion point and the density will clear. Does that mean it will be hell on earth from that point forward? Quite the opposite. It will be moving in a much better direction, especially for those of us who are caught up with this new frequency and riding the wave of that fifth dimension, if you want to call it that, or that unity consciousness. We will get swept up by synchronicities and magic left and right, but we will be called into darker spaces and to help be of service to the ones who are just waking up or to the ones who are holding a lot of density and darkness within them. You will be called to that. So 2027 is not the destination. It is the beginning point, truly, of this fifth dimension, where 2012 was the end of the third dimension. 2020 was the bifurcation where this fifth dimension could actually have a place to go that was not affected by this 3D reality anymore. And 2027 is when people will begin to occupy that frequency. And remember, the fifth dimension is not a place. It is a frequency bandwidth. It is a state of being. And many of you are already dipping your toes in and out of it all the time. And it's not a goal. It's what is already happening. Surrender to it. Clear your system. Meditate when you're called, but also dance, sing, and have sex when you're called to as well. The fifth dimension is not devoid of fun. It is not devoid of sex. It is not devoid of some things which some of you all would call dark. We just see it and operate with it in a different way in the fifth dimensional frequencies. So 2027 is like a phone call from Source saying, you got the job. And so what I want you all to do is surrender to that. Even as you're listening to this, take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your body up with that beautiful air that's just given to you for free on this planet. And as you exhale with a sigh, let go of the idea that we're moving in a wrong direction, or things are getting worse in the world, or that you're off track or not being guided in some way, or that spirit has abandoned you and your star family has abandoned you and left you here in this hell realm to rot. That is quite the opposite. And if you're listening to this, you may have needed to hear that in some way. And so it has been an honor to bring this to you, and very exciting. As I sat down to do this, I thought, is my mouth going to keep up with the huge data bank that's trying to come through? And so I've done my best, and I appreciate you all being patient and listening to this. And so if you want to integrate this activation that I've brought through, do a little journaling. Go outside after this and ground if you're not already outside grounding. Put your back up against a tree. And remember that when I was in the shower a few years ago, Mary, the archetype of Mary, I couldn't tell if it was Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene, but the archetype of the Mary figure came to me while I was in the shower. And she said, the fifth dimension is not in the spaceships. It's not in the galactic center. It's not in the light beings. It's not up there. It's in the trees. It's in the squirrels. It's in the wood. It's in the ground. It's in the mushrooms. She used very specific examples. And she said all of those things that existed way beyond the creation of the Homo sapien, or the new human that was created hundreds of thousands of years ago, even beyond the lunar matrix that was brought into place and the densification of the frequency ranges here into a false matrix, into a 3D reality. This planet remembers, Mama Gaia remembers who she was before that. So go to the tree, go to the animals, go to the plants, go to Mount Shasta, go to the canyons of Sedona, go to those sacred places and those vortex points. Make it easy on yourself to heal and resonate with these new frequencies and to detox your body, because it's going to happen and is happening anyway. Thank you all for joining me for this episode of Ascend the Matrix podcast. If you feel called to work with me in any way, you can go to chryskyng.com. That's ChrysKyng.com. I help mystics and lightworkers and starseeds and conscious business owners elevate their business, create beautiful websites and branding that is channeled. I do psychic readings, but I also have a website called ascended-astrology.com, which is where we do ascended astrology readings, which is a new form of astrology if you're interested in understanding your 5D templating and your soul mission and how to get out of the matrix using that ascended astrology chart. We also have chart calculators there where you can look up your false matrix and your ascended matrix chart. And also I have the Medicine Alchemist, or it's medicinealchemist.com, and the Medicine Alchemist on social media. And this is where we do medicine retreats, microdosing packages, psychedelic integration, and shamanic integration, where I support you in activating your DNA and tapping out of the matrix using all kinds of sacred medicines that we have in our ApothyCare system. And I am so grateful to all who have trusted me so far, and anyone who is listening now. Thank you for seeing me, and I see you as well. We're all in this together, and we're all here to ascend the matrix as a collaborative organism. And so I'm going to take another deep breath into that. And I'm going to let go. This house is clear. This transmission is complete. I love you all. Thank you.